disagreement equals a weakened bond. This is very big. Most people believe that if we're disagreeing, we don't get along. There is a lack of unity. And if there's a lack of unity, then our relationship isn't going well. Unanimity equals a healthy bond. That if we are unanimous, we agree, then we are a match made in heaven. But if we don't agree, we're not a match made in heaven. So it's very important to know, because this is a subconscious belief that so many people live with, that this is simply not true. Not only is it not true, if you ask any two people who are in a close relationship together, if they're in a close relationship, they clearly have gotten to know that they don't agree on a number of things, a good number of things. There are no two people that actually agree on everything. And any two people always disagree on a good number of things. So it's not a lack of unity. It's not a lack of love. It's not a sign of a weak relationship if we are not agreeing with someone we're in a relationship with. And the Midrash tells this to us. In text 1a, the Midrash says, just as human faces are not identical, so their minds are not alike. The same way in modern day times, I think we would say, the same way every single person has a different fingerprint, and every snowflake has a slightly different shape, every human mind is different. Every single one, which means that it's not really possible for us to agree on everything because we simply think differently. That means we're hardwired to be different, to think differently. So the expectation that we should think the same is a very misleading expectation. So here you have a whole bunch of people, and everyone's got different perspective. Just as human faces are not identical, so their minds are not alike. That is the way we are designed. So and here's a fascinating thing. Disagreement equals hardwired. We are hardwired to disagree because we were designed to think differently. And if people think differently, then we will have disagreements. The only way, okay, here's going to be the shocker, okay, which is going to lead us into the next myth. The only thing that will cause two people to agree on everything is love. But it's a certain type of a love. It's a love called, think to yourself, when you were if you were married or if you are married, right? Think about the time when the two of you were in greatest agreement. And if I had to guess, I'm going to guess it was when you were dating. It was even before you were engaged, and possibly continued pretty well until you were married. And then you woke up the day after your marriage, or maybe it took a week, and suddenly you found, wow, we were so perfect, and suddenly we're not, right? Because blind love is the only thing that creates agreement amongst two people. You know why? Because it blinds your differences. You're in a blinded state, so you're not actually aware of your disagreements. And the second you come down from that blind love and you come into reality, that suddenly you discover we disagree. Of course we disagree. We're two different people. Never mind two different genders, but we're two different people. Of course we disagree. That's obvious. What will happen with time in a good relationship is we will be comfortable. And what does happen actually is in the blind love dating stage, we don't expose the disagreements. Oh, it's so beautiful that you think that way. Right? But a week into the marriage, oh my gosh, how am I going to live with a person who thinks that way? Right? So that's how things sort of evolve. But actually, what happens is we get comfortable, which is a very good sign and very good progress, actually sharing what we feel, what we think, even though it's in disagreement with the other person. And that's a sign that we're becoming comfortable with ourselves in front of this other person, which is very good. And there is no reason for alarm whatsoever. Why is there no reason for alarm? As we read in text number 2, which is on page 98, everyone. No reason for alarm because the Midrash teaches us just as human faces are not identical, so their minds are not alike. Did you ever expect your spouse to look like you? Precisely. Right? They never look so handsome or so beautiful. Of course not. You don't expect that. Everyone looks differently. Everyone looks different. So just as you tolerate others despite their looking different from you, so must you tolerate others who think differently from you. It's really the same thing. And if we can embrace this idea that just like there's facial diversity, right? And we're all big proponents of diversity in today's day and age, then surely, if you're such a big proponent of diversity, then be a proponent of thoughtful diversity, where people think differently. This is not a relationship issue whatsoever. The issue, as we'll point out a little bit more later on, is that my ego, my self-oriented self, gets very uncomfortable when someone has a different idea than I do. That's our ego problem. And that's why soul orientation is the key to living a loving relationship with someone who I disagree with.